Welcome to Field of Dreams on NCBN TT. I'm Steve David and I'm your host. Today we talk about the new administration, Ttfa football. And I have the two Anthonys with me. Anthony Sheerwood, welcome to the set. And the man with the air on the ground, Anthony Clarke, welcome to the set.
Always a pleasure, Steve. Thank you for inviting me.
Guys, there's so much going on. There is, and not good, always good stuff, but it's some crazy stuff as well. So we here this tonight, and we're gonna discuss all the issues, or what do we think, how we grade the new administration and whatever. They have the TT Premier League ready to start, and then we have Dwight York coming in to coach a team, and we have other things that's brewing and boiling around. And so, I don't know where we start. There's so much, but Sheerwood is a good boy. We always put Sheerwood to run us off on what you feel, how you feel about how things are going now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot seems to be happening, Steve. Yeah. Obviously, most recently we had the unveiling of the national senior team coach, along with his staff. And so, I don't think that was a secret necessarily. I think people were simply anticipating when it would happen. And of course, he would have had an opportunity to spend some time with the local guys. And we got some tidbits from, Ttfa media as to how that went, what they did, etc., etc. But I think also importantly along those lines is the fact that the professional league is carded to start on the 9th.
The 6th.
The 6th of December. And I think for a lot of the players in particular here in Trinidad and Tobago, that is something that I know that they would have been looking forward to. Mm-hmm. It's an important time, if you want to look at it that way, because we are going into, 2 years of very, very important, events for football in Trinidad. So I know the local players will approach. I think it'll be a good season from the perspective that the local players will be looking to make, quite the impression, to get themselves in and around selection with the senior team. So, yeah, a lot seems to be happening.
Generalize it, General. What do you think? How you feel?
I agree with Anthony. A lot seems to be going on. I'm not in agreement with how they go about it, but they seem to be busy. Right? That is what I would generalize it to be. I am for the appointment of Dwight. A lot of people say he has no experience, he has no this, he has no that. But we have brought people with experience, and they have gotten no results.
Sure.
Right? We have brought people with a lot of international and same results. All right. So I think a national icon like Dwight, I think he has. They always say, the Bible says that the builder and the cornerstone, the discarded one, the one that he didn't consider, right, is the one that, who might be able to make, things happen.
Sure.
And he also, on his staff, he included Russell, who would help. I mean, I visited 2 of their sessions, and I like what they see. My challenge is with them is the talent pool. Sorry to say it, but our talent pool is not of the highest, not of the best. And that is his challenge. So I'm hopeful that, Steve, I always complain about the short-term goals that we have. Right? We actually need a proper, national footballing structure and philosophy and methodology to plan for to ensure that we're on a solid foundation. Right? We bring Dwight again to prepare for a World Cup. If he fails, we say he failed in 2 years. Right? Football, and right, I always bring the example, as you know, that when England didn't make the World Cup, for some reason, we feel that Trinidad should be in contention for every World Cup. I don't know where we get that right idea from, right? That we feel that we must be in every World Cup. When England didn't make the World Cup, it took them 8 years before they made another World Cup. And they went ahead and at that time they formed the Home of Football, which is where our Home of Football got copied from. They started to concentrate on the young players and develop them and so on and so forth. And England now is coming back to being one of the elite teams in world football now. But that is what they had to do. They had to go back to scratch. And I think that we continually try to look for this quick fix, and it's not going to work.
Well, of course, we got to develop our local pool, right? So that means TT, PFL, Professional and Premier Football League, should be that pool that we concentrate on to find players. But I've got something big for you. I know you're heir to the ground, Clarke, but I have one that you don't know. It's the TTPFL has 12 teams. They have 6 or 7 venues that they selected, and there is no home games, let's say home games. There's a home team, but for example, the schedule first came out with Point Fund Civic Center, 2 home games and 20 games away from home. So scheduling has to be an issue, and I've been told that the 11 home games and 11 away games is not going to work. Something that works.
I don't know what Anthony's view is on
the
that.
whole, everywhere in the world.
Yeah. I mean, that's not ideal, right? I mean, just from the outside, from an outsider looking in, it sounds strange, to be honest with you. One of the things I recall though, Steve, and I don't know if this is a format that maybe is influencing how they are scheduling games and where they're playing games, is that I think you recall the Ascension League that took place coming out of COVID. And one of the things that they did with the Ascension League is it seems like they played almost every game in 1 or 2 venues, right? I think they were using the police barracks, and then La Horquetta Rangers, their home ground, up in La Horquetta. And I have to tell you, I mean, they created, to the surprise of a lot of people, quite a good atmosphere. So I don't know, in other words, it was the first time in a long time we would have seen, for instance, a doubleheader in football, right? Now that was not professional football per se, it was a tournament where you had a lot of the professional teams involved. But it was the first time I think we had seen in a very long time some very, very good crowds attending those games. And I think they did a lot to create a party-ish type atmosphere. I think they had entertainers, etc., etc. And one of the things I realized subsequently is that because of the perceived success of the Ascension League and the format that took, I almost feel like everybody now is trying to replicate what they did. And so I don't know if that is what is responsible for the approach to scheduling.
Yeah, that's funny as you say that. Now I understand where all that is coming from. Because we talk about, Clarke, about building the football, going back to the communities. And if that is so, that's going to kill football in Point Fund.
But it's not only in Point Fortin.
And other places.
It will kill football because, again, they're looking for quick fixes. right? The foundation of football worldwide is community.
Right.
Juventus is a community.
Sure.
Manchester United is a community. Manchester City is a community.
Liverpool is a
Liverpool is a community. Milan is a community. Right? DC United is a community. Barcelona is a community. Real Madrid is a community. So we are just looking for quick fixes, and those quick fixes are to try to generate some sort of, right, as Anthony says, success. We need to go back to foundation to get it right, Steve. Our football will continue going further and further down if we don't reset and go back to the community.
Clarke, let me ask you a question,
Sure.
right? So, as Steve mentioned, we have 12 teams in the professional league this coming season. Of those 12 teams, I believe maybe 3 teams have what could be considered to be a home venue. That would be Rangers, La Hoqueta Rangers, Civic Center, Point Fortin Civic Center, and Police Barracks. So the truth is, you're talking about 9 teams in the professional league that do not have, quote unquote, a home ground in which to play their football.
Well, you actually proving my point, Tony. Because the football is not structured by community. Back in the day, we used to have San Fernando Strikers, we'll have Malvern, we will have this. It is up to the association to push communities to form their leagues, right? Make some sort of right, allowances for outside players and so on and so forth. Even what I will call the most successful team in the professional league, which was W Connection, they ensured that they came out of a community of Cuba. Right? So that is where football is, and what football is about is that the clubs generate their own income, their own sponsorship, their own this. Everybody is looking to Ttfa. If you carry it back to the community, and the community starts to get, nobody goes to those professional games. As you say, that is a ploy that they did. They have it in 2 venues to make sure that you get a crowd. But how will that help football in the future? Point Fortin needs to generate their community to come out. They will collect income from who gets that income? The Ascension League, that was a private thing.
Yeah.
They got all the gate receipts, right?
In fact, I think the president of Trinidad and Tobago Football Association at the moment was the director of the Ascension.
So this was a money-making venture, right? It was not for the development of football in Trinidad and Tobago. I have advocated that the Premier League, whatever they call it, is a waste of time. How many players, how much is your pool of players, Steve? Your squad, what, 25?
Well, it's 25.
25.
But we can go.
So you are telling me, if it's 10 teams, you are hinging your national team success on 250 players. Because you're not looking at players anywhere else, except those who are playing overseas and so on. Anthony, what year were you considered? What age, were you the sensation that was considered for the senior team and so on?
Teenage.
17.
17.
Yes.
17.
Right.
Our national footballers are debuting at 25 and 26.
Right.
We are no longer getting. We made the national team straight out of under 16.
Yeah, as a teenager.
Teenage years. We are no longer producing that. People are taking up to 10 years more to reach that level. Out of college football, we could have walked into a national team. You cannot see that from college football these days. Right? So therefore, their interests are not in the development of Trinidad and Tobago's football to get it back. They are there for quick fixes, right? And that is what they are concentrating on.
Yeah.
The Premier League should be squashed. You should put that money back into the zonal football and the community football and build back the community football.
But the not subvention. That league you talk about, the Ascension League, that was not a recognized league. I mean, it was like a minor league, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a tournament that was apparently well funded, but that's what it was. It wasn't a professional.
It was a money-making venture.
So tournaments go on probably one field or a couple of fields, but tournaments don't go across the board throughout this country. We need football throughout this country. Sure. In every hole we can find, we need football, and the only how that could happen is what they could do. A solution is let every team find a home to play football. They do it in the colleges league. Everybody has a home. Let them find a home. Let them name the team San Juan Jablote, Point Fortin Civic, by the community name, and run it that way. You know, the two most successful football teams, crowd-wise, is Point Fortin and Guaya.
Yeah.
And when those two meet, it's a carnival of people.
Sure.
On either end. So you take note is what I'm trying to say. Take note to all that.
And I've been advocating that for how many years now, Steve?
Yeah. So, I mean, what else? Again, you will have two teams in the Premier League. I'm warning the public as to what's going to be happening or what's trying to happen. Two teams in the professional league, Civic and Civic Center. I'm calling Civic Center because I can freely talk about Civic Center. Civic Center and SA Club Sando will be playing a game in Tobago. And the team from Tobago will be coming to Trinidad to play somebody else here. How does that make sense? I don't know. But let's take a break, and we will come back and talk about some other things. Viewers will be right back after the short break.
Change our TV to the soundboy, better stay calm, be cool.
Trinbago Heritage, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. on NCBN TT Television Network.
Hi, I am Nigel. Quote Me Today is your daily motivational segment to start your day right. Join me Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. right here on NCBN. Remember, wake up with a smile. Today is your day.
That's why when we festin', we just spend time when we jamming, we just jam down when we drinking, man is strong from hey, pop a bottle right now when we festin', we just spend time when we jamming, we just jam down when we drinking, man is strong from hey, pop a bottle, push up your hand.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. For the ones now tuning in, you're looking at NCBN TT Field of Dreams on NCBN TT. I'm Steve David, the host, and I've got the two Anthonys with me, Anthony Sheerwood and Anthony Clarke. Guys, there's so much happening, and let's give the viewers a little bit about what they anxiously want to hear about the hiring of Dwight York, the unveiling of Dwight York. We don't know who our technical director is yet. I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything about who the technical director is and a lot of other things. So, Clarke, you're ear to the ground. What have you heard?
Well, I've heard that you're on the technical committee, right? So, I don't know who the head is. I understand that head may be Justin George, and the overall head will be the president, right? That's how it is. But right, I'm sure that you are on that technical committee.
You sure about that?
I'm sure about that. And but coming back to the unveiling of Dwight York, I think that's an overkill, and they're setting up Dwight for failure, because that is like the return of Jesus Christ. He's supposed to solve all our problems. He's the one that will make us successful, right? But Dwight's challenges, which I know they may not want to admit it, is the talent pool that he has to work with. He doesn't have a magic wand to make these guys start to think about football, right? Start to study football, sometimes some of these players don't train until there's an official training. I used to get up in the morning, go on, right, Leonson and I, we used to get up and go and train before we go to school. When we come home, we go and we work on it. We don't wait because we were students of the game, right? And we wanted to learn this game, and you don't just learn the game when you have official training for an hour and a half. When our fitness wasn't good, we used to get up and go and run and make sure that we were prepared for when we go there. It was also an incentive that we were from South, and back in the day, South players were disadvantaged, right, when they go up and they meet them. So we had to be better than the rest, right? So we had right, with this unveiling of Dwight York, Dwight has a very good technical staff. I witnessed 2 of the sessions, and I saw the challenges that he is going to have. Simple drills that they do a demonstration for, and they ask him to study drill. Mistakes, man passing the ball in the wrong direction, and that is a drill just to warm up. And he had to stop the session and say, guys, this is the basics. Come on, if you can't get this right, how are you going to get anything else right? So his problem is that. That is where it is, Tony.
Yeah. So 2 things on that, right? So you've made a good point, Clarke. But here's what I would say to you. Dwight York, prior to taking this job, I would imagine would be well aware of what he's walking into. So in other words, before any man decides that this is a task that I am going to take up, you would analyze the situation before making that decision to say, yes, I am ready to take up the mantle as national team coach. I am assuming he would have examined the strengths as well as the deficiencies of our players. So in other words, he's coming into something I would imagine that he should have a fair bit of knowledge about, right? But here's the thing about Dwight York, okay, Clarke? And I mean, Dwight was a little younger. While you all were under 16s, I think we would have been like under 14s, right? But the thing about Dwight York is that if you ever really study his career and his time in football, I will say to you that there are few individuals that I can point to who've just at every single stage
Excel.
had success.
Excel.
You know, I recall going to Tobago with Presentation College, playing Signal Hill. He wasn't in Signal Hill at the time. He was at like in those days they were junior sex, right? And obviously we know each other from under 14 national team football. And he said, listen, you know, next year I will be in the league. And lo and behold, Steve, the first year he comes into this SSFL, he destroys it. You know what I mean? In fact, I think that was like the first real introduction that the public as a whole would have gotten to Dwight York. Remember that Signal Hill team with Bertil Sinclair, Colvin Hutchinson, etc., etc. He goes from Signal Hill as a 16-year-old Steve straight into the national team. And not just a young guy on the national team. Before very long, he starts making a real impression on Trinidad and Tobago football at the senior level. Right after that, Aston Villa comes to Trinidad and Tobago, plays 2 games on this island, one in Trinidad, one in Tobago. And again, Dwight York secures what would have been one of the biggest moves of any player from Trinidad and Tobago, right, at the time. At Aston Villa, right, has a great career at Aston Villa, goes to Manchester United. So the point I'm making to you is that there is something, I think, about Dwight York. Success has always been something that has been associated.
Yeah, but let me add to that, Tony. Not every good player is a good coach.
100%.
Right? And what Dwight has always been a student of the game.
True.
And that is what will make him a good coach. Right? He has always been a student of the game, and that is the reason why he succeeded at every level. Because every level he went at, he studied the game, he studied his opponents, he studied how to improve himself, and that is what Dwight should have gotten the Ballon d'Or when they did the treble. If you check his stats versus everybody, he wasn't even in the top 10.
Yeah.
And he was the one who ensured that Manchester United won the treble that year, right? But that is how good he was as a player.
Yeah.
But the reason he was that good is because he was always a student of the game. He loved football, he loved the tactics and the strategy of football. And that is what made him that good, because he analyzed his opponents, he understood what had to be done, and he developed his own strategies to become as good as he was.
Absolutely.
So that is why I strongly believe that he was that he would become a very good coach, and he proved it when he went down to Australia.
Yeah.
That club was basically a minor league club. They never won anything in the league, and his first attempt at coaching, they won the first trophy of the tournament.
Yeah.
Right, and and they started to improve, and fans started to come out because he's a student of the game. So I don't have any doubt. And then from watching the 2 sessions that I visited and hearing his communication with the guys, he's very encouraging to them. You know, one of the things that, he told me, he said, listen, I just want you to improve every day. I just want you to try your best, and every day push yourself to improve yourself every day. You're in competition with no one but yourself. And that is a great philosophy for a coach to tell a player.
Sure.
You are in no competition with anybody else. You are in competition with yourself. And every day you have to improve yourself. But I also see, as I mentioned, the challenges that he will have. Because if at this level, you have to go back to spending time to get people to concentrate on drills, when you're supposed to be focusing on strategy and trying to teach them how to analyze the other team's strategy and so on. And if you can't grasp the concept of a drill and the purpose of it, because when I was doing a drill, I understood what the purpose of that drill was, how it will translate into a game. Because when you're in a game, you have to see it and say, bam, 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 you have to understand that. So if you're not a student of the game, and you just come in to play, Steve. That is the challenge of most of our players in this country. They're not students of the game.
But in fairness to the players, though, Clarke, you have to say this, right? All of these guys, generally speaking, are not in season at the moment, which is not an excuse necessarily.
It is actually, yeah.
But what I'm saying to you is that, you know, he would have brought together a group, and I'm almost certain that probably somebody like Derek King is probably the person who would have made a decision, if you will, as to which of those players would have come into camp,
Anthony, what
right?
we're saying is the drill.
I just saying, Clarke, that these guys not in,
drills are drills. Drills that happen in games for a purpose, overlapping. You knock the ball into me, you knock it back here, you hit it to the overlap player. If you can't get that and you are making a mistake in those type of drills, what excuse do you have as a player? And you are now on the national team, you're on a club side, you know.
Absolutely.
This is the national team.
But you guys talk about Dwight at 16 and so on and different things. Everett Galley Cummins is responsible for him getting on that national team. Well, Bertil St. Clair is responsible for him development, going to the school. Galley, Transcalate, Aston Villa, same. So he making the jumps.
Yeah.
Now he comes here and he has to select his players, but he is with Molino and Jovan Jones, guys that we have kicked off of the team. He come and inherited them. What do you think he's going to do with these older players, or is he going to run with that?
All right. As I said, I went to the sessions. He expects of them to be leaders. Being leaders means that you have to be fittest, you have to be mentors, you have to be, and he has been talking one-on-one with these guys. I see him pull them aside, talking to them. They were not the ones making the mistakes. They are, I don't know if Jovan was coming off a little injury. He had two coaches with Jovan, working on Jovan with sprints and so on and so forth. He came to the side, spoke to him, so, speaking to Molino. So I guess in a similar way, and I guess that is what maybe these guys were missing. A mentor to look up to and Dwight is that person.
Absolutely.
All of them grew up thinking that Dwight York was the king. All right? So I guess that he will gain the respect from them because what they are trying to achieve, he achieved it many times over. All right? And if they want their careers to be extended, they will take his advice because Jovan Jones is now playing in Trinidad. At his age, he should be still outside somewhere. You don't start playing, you start your professional career, right? I don't call Hobby Connection the start of his professional career, but you start playing professionally at a young age outside. And at the prime of you end up something is wrong. All right, so I like the inheritance. I see what he is doing with them in terms of mentoring them, letting them know that, listen, you all could be the mentors here, but to be a mentor, you have to show by example, not by history. So I think it would be a good...
But we talked about, Anthony, going with younger players, getting things. These guys, the juice is running out. So is it worth investing the time and effort into that instead of a young player? Because if I was a young player at this point in time, it's like, we don't know what we really want to do. Are we going to go young and develop, or are we going to bring back? Because coaches are flopping. So bring them back, kick them off, bring them back, kick them off. What do you think?
I think, I couldn't tell you what Dwight York's thinking, but I suspect that Dwight is on a mission right now to see everybody who's been available for national team selection.
Okay.
And I think ultimately he will make his own decisions as to who he feels would be part of his plans going forward. I also believe that there's going to be a real push as it relates to the grandfather laws that everybody's talking about, right? Where players who have ancestors that are born in England and etc. Becoming eligible to play for Trinidad and Tobago. I genuinely believe that there's going to be a big push to get something put in place so that the pool of players available to play, especially in these World Cup qualifiers that will begin next year,
Is of a higher standard.
is of the highest standard that we can potentially produce, Because again, the man's job, and what I thought was really interesting is the fact that they really, sometimes, as a president, you would buffer what the expectations are, right? It seems like they've doubled down almost on the fact that Dwight York is here to get Trinidad and Tobago to the World Cup. It's that.
Yeah, set them up. And right, let me add something I told you.
But again, Clarke, Dwight would have analyzed the situation.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And would have made a decision. Listen, this is realistic. This is doable. And as a result of that,
I disagree with you there, right? You get an opportunity to come back and help your country. And from conversations, he intends to make certain demands as well, right? Is my understanding. Because things cannot continue how they used to happen and you expect change. How Ttfa normally, you have no international games to be played, you continue playing Barbados and Grenada and these teams. Do not put pressure on me for this World Cup. What am I here for? Am I here to develop the football? And yes, you have a wish that you want to make this World Cup qualification. But do you want long-term development or do you want to try to get instant success? If it's instant success, we don't have the tools for this instant success right now. And that is the reason why he will go back to the Jovan Jones and the Molinos if they told him, well, one of the goals that we really want you to try to see if you could, you don't have the time to develop the youths coming out of the secondary school football league to bring them to that level. Because the guys who are in our normal professional leagues here, the PFL or whatever you call it, not even at the level. Right? So, and most of them are the older players. So yes, he has that objective of trying to make, because we have the best opportunity now. How much? 7 teams? If we ain't qualifying 1 and 7, something wrong, right? So we have to go back to that type of old player.
Let's take a break, guys. When we come back, we'll deal with some other topic. Viewers will be right back after the short break.
Hi, I am Nigel Coutier.
Hi, I'm Jemima Joseph.
And I'm Jovan Paulette.
We are coming to a community near you. We're going to speak community talk. We want to hear your issues, your concerns, or what will improve your community.
Look out for us. We'll be coming soon, Nigel and myself, to your community to hear in whatever way we can do to improve your environment, be it employment, infrastructure, anything to improve your living as well as our own.
Catch us on NCBN TT television for Community Talk.
a center. When foundation equipped, brother, before you could say Raja. But look at deep where the punja, and instead of we complaining, there's no chance for sitting. Everybody giving comment, and we cussing the government. But it's we who throw rubbish on the street. It's we who does litter up we beach. It's we who does the garbage bin to put drinks to cold for when we bend it. And then it's we, rather than us do these things. It's we who does call we only some friends. It's we who does fuss and complain. But I say, it is we to blame.
Welcome back, Sheerwood. Okay, before the break, we were talking a lot about the hiring of Dwight York and the whole big episode about what took place. Now, I want you guys, Clarke and Anthony Sheerwood, if you were president, what would you do different? Or would you run exactly as things are going?
Clarke, you want to start? Yeah, I know you have a lot to offer in that regard.
Steve, first and foremost, if with these same vice presidents behind me, with these same people, or if it is that I was going to be president with my team,
whatever.
Because one of the first things with this presidency is that I don't think he has the intellectual capacity is not there to run football. And that is why you will find that the direction football is going is in the direction it is. For example, they're not concentrating on community football and so on. I have stated very clearly what I will do. I will scrap the professional league. I will invest that money because my plan will be a long-term plan. My plan is not short-term where it is that you're doing quick fixes to try to get quick results. Results don't ever come quickly. All right? I will invest that money that I'm spending on that professional league and all the marketing and so on, and put that money back into the zonal football to improve community football. Bring the fans back out. Nobody comes to that professional league. You have no fans, you have no income, you have no marketing. Why are you continuing to run that professional league? Right? So the quick fix that they have for that is by putting it in 3 or 4 stadiums where they feel it have a good football community to get the fans out. But that is not going to... So when the football reaches on to South and Point Fortin, right, what will happen? You'll get no fans. So therefore you have to have a holistic plan for football in Trinidad and Tobago. You have to have a holistic plan to have succession planning from youth football to
senior.
Right to senior. We have rode the success of the Anthony Sherwoods, the Anthony Clarks and the Russell Attapis and the Kerry Jamesons. That era of football took Trinidad and Tobago to 2006-2007 World Cup. Those were the players, right? And they rode the back of those players and didn't continue developing the youth. And then when that ended up there and we had the crescendo, you had no succession planning of football, so the football crashed. And because we attain that right success, the expectation comes that we should be qualifying again. But they didn't understand the infrastructure that caused us to reach there. So we now have the whole country we reached there already, and prior to that, it was Anthony and they that went to the Youth World Cup, right? So, but the foundation was there, and that is why we had those two successes, right? And when that crashed, the expectation remained, but the foundation is no longer there, right? You had no more youth football coming up, no more youth tournaments, no more community football. All those, it's from the community we got these players from amateur football, not from no professional league. That generation came from amateur football, right? From communities having, and you had a lot of players that you could have pulled from. When you went to national training, it was tons of people, and they had to cut squads every, right, Monday squad. Now you only have a little pool of players that you think. So I would revamp, I would sell to the people of Trinidad and Tobago that history and sell and inform them that this is where we got our success from, ask for their support and their patience, and go back to the communities. Market heavily in the communities so that the clubs, because it's easier to get fans coming out in the community and making income, right, generating income in the community, than trying to generate income on a national professional league level without community teams. The community team will follow the community. The community will follow the community team wherever they go. But you only have 3 community teams based on what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right? So that will be my focus, amongst other things. But to get football back on an even keel, that is where I will start.
Anthony?
That's a tough question, Steve. And I say that because, in fairness, how long has the Ttfa been operationalized?
Trinidad
What,
football?
the new one?
No, the new
the new
Yeah, it hasn't been that long, right?
No, not
Yeah, but they came in without no plans.
Yeah. And so the truth is, we could sit here and say, listen, this is what, the president and his executives should be doing. And the truth is, it's possible that they could be doing something.
With that big unveiling of the PFL?
Yeah, I mean, so we had 2 big unveilings, quite frankly. We had the Dwight York unveiling, which was
Public relations. Public relations.
Yes. It was like a spectacle. Let's call it that, right? And then of course you had the Trinidad and Tobago Premier League on launching a few days ago. All right. So I think as far as the president is concerned, those would be 2 things that he would have earmarked to have gotten off the ground. Those are 2 very important things happening in our football. One of the things, right away, if somebody said, listen, what would you advise if so asked, I would ensure that these committees, right, that are at the disposal of the executive. So theoretically, I believe, much like the technical committee, there's supposed to be a financial committee. There's supposed to be a marketing committee. I would ensure that those committees have the people, the very best people that are available, who have a very, very vested interest in seeing football.
Until let me ask you a question, right? Mm-hmm. You come in, you campaign to be the leader of something. You must be coming in with some sort of vision and plan on what you want to do to lead this organization. During the election campaign, I called on him several times through this platform on Field of Dreams to outline his manifesto, what are his aspirations when he becomes the president of Trinidad and Tobago football. It never came forth. It was promised. Steve was promised to see the manifesto. He went around talking to other people and he convinced them that he's going to do something different and this and that. What has transpired to date is no different from the previous administrations, hiring a new national coach and running the so-called professional league. How is that going to, if you continue doing the same things but expect a different result, all the difference that they made so far was they put some pump and flair to it. But it was the same thing. When David John Williams came in, he fired Steve Hart, he brought a new national coach.
True.
And he started the professional league.
But the point I'm making, though, Clarke, is that it's early days, right? Relatively speaking.
But what is your plan? It's early days, but you don't have a clue.
Yeah, but the question that Steve asked was, what would you do, right? If you were the president, somebody entrusted you with that responsibility. And so what I am saying is that there's certain things that are required for football to function.
But you're saying what he's doing, level. What would you do?
Well, this is what I'm saying. This is what I would do, right? There are committees that I know that should be filled. I don't know if it's a mandate or it's in the Constitution, right? Technical committee, for instance, should be playing a very, very active role, in particular as it relates to the development of youth football in the country. Because we know that's a problem. Right, and you can see by the results that we've gotten in the CONCACAF level tournaments that we've attended.
Who's the head of the technical committee? The ultimate head.
The president, I believe, is actually the chair of that committee or the head of the committee. Yeah.
So therefore, he has to have some sort of
a plan.
To direct the technical committee on which direction to go.
100%.
Where's that plan?
So that would be the other thing that I would ensure happens, right? What I mean by that, Clarke, is that, for instance, I think transparency and communication is very important. And so what I would be doing is that maybe every 3 weeks, I would have a press conference with members of the media, and I would provide them with what is happening at the moment in the Ttfa, and what we are planning within the short term, a month, 2 months, 3 months.
Correct.
And how it ties in.
But if you don't have that, but if you don't have that,
but then I shouldn't be the Ttfa.
All right.
I shouldn't be the Ttfa president.
All right. And that is why I was asking for that during the election campaign. Show me why you should be president. But what he did well, and I'm going to say what he did well, football is a grassroots sport.
True.
But however, the administration of football need to be professional.
Yeah.
And what he did was he went wrong and talked to people, the grassroots boy, I'll do this, I'll do that, and this and that. And the grassroots people don't understand that you have to be at a different level when you become president.
Yeah.
Right? And who he took under his wing was people who had little pockets of the Ttfa behind them, or Osman Downer. He have the referees and he have a little bit of respect and so on. So the people who respect Osman Downer will vote. But he was born right in sometime BC. And his ideas are still there. Right? And therefore he has nothing positive to act, because every time you go into a meeting with Osman Downer, he tries to carry you back to the old constitution.
Sure.
And to stick right there of how this is how it used to be, and this is, so he has no new ideas to take football into the new era.
Yeah.
Then he goes and gets a marketing guy who is a right marketing person, right? A sports commentator who knows nothing about administration of football. I think he used to be in the administration of cricket at some point in time. The success of the Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Association should tell you that he wasn't very successful there. And his only claim to fame is commentating.
Well, I think they need to include the entire Trinidad into their football plan. The Southwest, from San Fernando down to Cedros, all over to Moruga, these 2 teams, Civic Center and Club Sando. And then look at everything else is in the Northeast, not Northeast, but the Southwest corridor, up in the north side, Northeast and north side.
Central.
So we doing football like we did Carnival or every other thing in this country. We're taking everything to Port of Spain and we forgetting the rest of this country. And our football will never get better if we don't do a big evaluation and structure the thing to include every county or every, whatever you want to do it. 8 counties we have, put a league, make a league in everyone, or however.
But these are the discussions, Steve, right? That should be happening.
Yeah, that is,
Right.
should be happening.
Yeah. And as men on the ground, when I say men on the ground, men involved in, well, I am involved in, I consider myself to be a grassroots person, right? And it boggles my mind when I just don't seem to see, the urgency to change things, to create the catalyst that kickstarts our football. We can't be happy with Trinidad and Tobago going into games against Caribbean teams, and all of a sudden now it's a tie, or we need extra time to beat some of these teams. If I am involved in football in any capacity at that level, that doesn't sit well with me.
Yes.
And so there should be an urgency, right? We talk about a technical director. That man should be in every corner in Trinidad and Tobago, creating relationships.
Are you seeing that urgency?
I can't say I have seen it, but I'm not saying it does not exist, Clarke, but I'm saying from my vantage point, I don't see it. Now, I was based somewhere else for a very, very long time, right? And I have been on telephone calls, right? These conference calls with somebody like Claudio Arena, who was the director of youth football in America at that time. And there's a way this man communicates to everybody on that call. And sometimes he's using, very, very harsh language to communicate that you all have to do a better job of identifying players. At the time, we were having, or I should say America was having problems like in the final third. They wanted players who could break down defenders. And so there's an urgency. You could tell that this man gets up every day and has an obsession and a passion about seeing something different, an improvement,
So are you seeing that?
Again, Clarke, from my vantage point, I can't say that I am seeing that. But you might talk to another man and he might say, yes, I see this all the time. It just depends on who you talk to.
Well, Clarke, the next presidency you're going to run, I'm sure it'll be on your slate.
No, sir.
All right?
If Clarke running a deal with Clarke, Steve.
All right, we come to the end, but as usual, this hour will go by really quick when we have so much interesting things to talk about, and you guys make it happen. I thank you so much for being on this.
Always a pleasure.
Good to be here, Steve.
Viewers, thank you for tuning in every Tuesday night at 8. We do have a Facebook page. You can check us out. We have an email address, philodrintt@gmail.com, where you can drop us a line. NCBN TT, thanks for the opportunity. This show has ended. Go in peace. I'm Steve David, Anthony Sherwood, Anthony Clarke, saying good night.